The Manhattan skyline gleamed in the early morning sun as Good Morning America came back from commercial. The studio lights blazed, the cameras zoomed in, and the theme music faded out. Michael Strahan sat tall behind the desk, his trademark smile just slightly sharpened. Across from him, Meghan Markle shifted in her chair, her designer outfit immaculate, but there was already a nervous flicker in her eyes. The segment had been billed as a light-hearted interview about Meghan's new vision for women's empowerment projects. But from the opening second, tension crackled in the air. Michael leaned forward, his voice smooth but edged with steel. "Meghan, welcome back to GMA. You've been in the headlines for, well, pretty much everything. You say this new project is about truth and transparency. But critics say you haven't always lived by those same standards. How do you respond?" The audience chuckled softly, sensing he was already pressing buttons. Meghan smiled tightly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Well, Michael, I think people love to create stories about me. What I'm doing now is about cutting through the noise. It's about showing the real Meghan." Michael cut in, his grin widening. "The real Meghan? Which one? The Hollywood actress? The Duchess? The podcast host who left mid-season? Or the victim of the press?" A ripple of laughter swept through the studio audience. Meghan froze for a second, her eyes narrowing. She tried to laugh it off, but her voice wavered. "I think women are allowed to evolve, Michael. I don't need to be defined by evolve," Michael interjected, lifting an eyebrow. "Or reinvent every time the heat gets too strong." Gasps filled the room. Even Robin Roberts, sitting at the side, blinked in surprise. Meghan's smile vanished now. She leaned forward, her tone sharper. "That's a very unfair characterization. I've worked tirelessly." Michael held up a hand, casually, as if swatting away an excuse. "Tirelessly? Meghan, people say you worked tirelessly at controlling narratives. Remember the Oprah interview? You told the world things that later didn't add up. Now you're saying you're all about truth. How can viewers trust you today?" The words hit like a hammer. The crowd murmured, some clapping at the audacity. Meghan's face flushed, her lips parting in disbelief. She shifted in her chair, visibly rattled. "That interview was my truth. I lived those experiences. Just because people can't handle hearing them doesn't mean." Michael leaned in, lowering his voice, but the mic caught every syllable. "Your truth, or the truth?" That single question sliced the air. The audience erupted with applause, some even whistling. Meghan's eyes glistened, though she blinked hard, refusing to let tears form. She forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You know, Michael, it's disappointing when a morning show becomes an interrogation instead of a conversation." Michael chuckled, shaking his head, his booming voice filling the studio. "No, Meghan, this is GMA. We ask the questions people at home want answered. You came here to promote truth. I'm just giving you a chance to prove it." The crowd roared again, clapping and cheering like it was a sports match. Meghan folded her arms, shifting uncomfortably, glancing toward the producers offstage as if searching for rescue. None came. The clock ticked, 15 minutes into the segment, and the atmosphere had shifted from glossy promo to a live showdown. Meghan tried to regain control. "My project is about women having the power to speak without fear of being silenced." Michael cut in yet again. "Silenced? Meghan, you're on the biggest stage in the world. Netflix, Spotify, endless interviews. You've never been silenced. If anything, people say you're addicted to the spotlight." The audience gasped so loudly it drowned out Meghan's attempt to reply. She raised a hand, but her voice cracked. "That's not fair. That's not." Michael leaned back, victorious, letting the silence hang. Then he delivered the line that detonated the studio. "Meghan, maybe the problem isn't that the world doesn't hear you. Maybe the problem is, the world just doesn't believe you anymore." The room exploded. Applause thundered. People stood up in the audience, cheering, some even booing Meghan's stunned expression. Robin shifted uncomfortably, trying to move the segment along, but it was too late. The moment had gone viral live. Meghan sat frozen, her hands clenched in her lap. Her polished facade cracked just slightly, the shine in her eyes betrayed humiliation. She tried to regain composure, forcing out a shaky laugh. "Well, Michael, I guess people will just have to watch my project and decide for themselves." Michael nodded with that same sharp grin, like an athlete who'd just scored. "They sure will. Thanks for being here." The segment ended. The cameras pulled back, the GMA theme music swelled, but the image of Meghan Markle, defeated, flustered, and visibly shaken, was burned into the minds of everyone watching. Within minutes, clips of the clash flooded social media. On Twitter, #Strahan vs Meghan trended. TikTok loops replayed Michael's brutal punchline. Commentators called it the moment Meghan's carefully crafted media image crumbled live. And as GMA rolled into the next segment about summer recipes, Meghan sat backstage in silence, staring down at her phone as the world laughed, cheered, and replayed her humiliation again and again. For Michael Strahan, it was just another morning. For Meghan Markle, it was a public blow she couldn't spin away from. The moment the GMA credits rolled, the internet was already ablaze. Clips of Michael Strahan leaning in with the line, "Maybe the problem isn't that the world doesn't hear you. Maybe the problem is the world just doesn't believe you anymore," spread like wildfire. Within minutes, hashtags trended. #Strahan vs Meghan, #your truth or the truth, and even #morning show smackdown. On Twitter, sports fans joked. Michael played football for years, but this was his hardest tackle. Others chimed in, "She went in for PR. She left with an L. Michael 1 Meghan 0. Game over." TikTok loops exaggerated the exchange with dramatic background music. One clip paired Michael's grin with boxing bell sound effects. Another showed Meghan's frozen smile with captions, "When you realize the host isn't on your side." By noon, late-night comedians had already prepared jokes. A clip of Jimmy Fallon rehearsing went viral. Michael Strahan used to sack quarterbacks, but today, he sacked a duchess. The audience roared with laughter. Meanwhile, Meghan sat in a black SUV outside the GMA studio, staring out the tinted window. Her aide handed her a phone. "It's everywhere," she whispered. Meghan scrolled in silence, her face tightening as she saw meme after meme. She shoved the phone back, muttering, "This is disgusting. They'll regret it." Back in the GMA building, Michael Strahan was relaxed, sipping coffee with the crew. He laughed as producers teased him. "You went hard, Mike." He shrugged casually. "She came to sell truth. I just asked her to live it." The producers nodded knowingly. One whispered, "That clip just made the morning." By afternoon, networks replayed the clash on a loop. CNN called it the takedown heard around the world. Fox News ran the headline, "Michael Strahan exposes Meghan Markle's inconsistencies live." Even British tabloids gleefully piled on, splashing her flustered face across front pages. "Meghan crumbles under pressure." Inside Meghan's PR headquarters in Los Angeles, phones rang non-stop. Staffers huddled around laptops, groaning at trending hashtags. One panicked intern muttered, "We need a statement. Damage control, now." Her publicist paced the room. "We'll say Michael ambushed her, that it was hostile. Play the victim card, again." He froze mid-sentence, realizing even that spin sounded tired. "No, wait, we pivot. Meghan's about resilience. She won't let attacks silence her. That's the angle." Meanwhile, Meghan recorded a voice memo on her phone, her voice trembling but determined. "I will not be bullied by men who try to silence women. I will continue to stand for truth." The clip was posted to her Instagram hours later. Supporters rushed to defend her, but critics pounced, replaying Michael's line again and again. The comments section turned into a battlefield. That night, news anchors replayed the footage with analysts dissecting every second. Body language experts claimed Meghan's crossed arms revealed defensiveness. Others noted the tremble in her voice as evidence of humiliation. By the next morning, Good Morning America basked in record-breaking ratings. The producers smiled as they watched advertisers scramble to buy more airtime. The clash had given the show its biggest buzz in years. Michael Strahan, walking into the studio, was mobbed by fans cheering, "You crushed it, Mike." He grinned, signing autographs, unfazed. "Just doing my job," he said simply. For Meghan, though, it was a different story. At her California mansion, she sat with Prince Harry, scrolling through the fallout. Harry slammed his phone on the table. "They set you up, we should sue." But Meghan only stared out the window, her face pale. She knew the damage was done. The polished image she had carefully built for years had cracked on live television, and this time, no carefully worded press release could erase the sound of an audience laughing, cheering, and clapping against her. For millions watching, Michael Strahan had not just interviewed Meghan Markle, he had exposed her. And the echo of that moment would follow her far longer than 30 minutes of morning TV.